I also like the fact that we're going to see Mixwell, who has been putting up a hell of a lot of numbers, actually playing the Sage, which obviously adds in that additional factor of if he does have one of those games, they're going to have a res every few rounds.
Well, yeah, exactly. It can be so valuable to have that Sage being played here. And although I'm sad to see Viper go out, it does make sense. I'll give them that. Yeah, in terms of Kellogg's playing the Reyna, oh god. That's the workout routine right there. Imagine we did that, Tom. Just like 2 push-ups every round in the downtime when we're playing.
Oh, I'd be out of breath after like 2 rounds. Like that'd be me done. I'm incredibly unfit. That's why I sit in a chair and I shout video games. No movement needed whatsoever. Nonetheless, we're gonna have the attack side start for Guild. Now you might be thinking this map fairly defensive sided most of the time. Well, Guild normally thrive with how explosive they are in the attack. I love watching the way that they burst into the B site in an awful lot of rounds, and with the current positioning of the spike, I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually see that happen.
Guild on split, always a pleasure to watch, Tom. I have fond memories of them on this map, as we spoke about earlier. But I do like the fact that these guys are taking the pace way down, and it looks like even a fake gonna be thrown in. 2 players moving towards the A side. Spike sat patiently outside of B, and they're gonna walk through, having already held the control with the tripwire or trapwire. Now they look to make that push happen, and they know that the close corners are clear. They're just trying to make that little bit of noise, really shout from the heavens that they are going for the A site, use the cage to cross, and here's where they blitz out onto B. Only 1 player actually holding on the site, and he'll be walled off straight away.
There is still Nuki in heaven, though, and I feel like they needed to do maybe a little bit more damage. They've got Yassine now on the lurk, and we'll get into an afterplant. Yassine has to get a kill here, and he's been spotted by Nuki. This now puts it down to just the 3 players who initially made the take work, and I think that's going to be a lot easier said than done. Draken, however, taking pot shots, hitting heads, already turning it into a viable scenario, and the paranoia already coming through to clean out that back corner.
Oh yeah, they're in a lot of trouble. Bonker right-clicking away. Not able to get anything done on that one. Okay, G2 come in strong with the pistol round. 4 players surviving. And what's really nice about this, Tom, is everyone's managed to get upgraded pistols out of that. So G2 can almost play like a really free bonus round.
Yeah, I like the ideas of fakes, but I always think in pistol rounds, it's just a little bit too much, because I think one of the main issues, firstly, the attempted fake, for me at least, it was almost too obvious, if that makes sense. Like, just putting the camera down, you might as well have just like screamed, "I'm going A!" Like, it's so obvious for players that there's someone attempting to try and make a push in that direction. And if you've not been spotted, I don't really see a reason to like make that much noise. So if you notice the rotations from G2, they didn't really move. Like, maybe 1 player rotated, but there was still a player in B and in heaven when the actual take came in.
Let's slow down. Mixwell, having upgraded to the Spectre like the rest of his team, has a pretty clean fight for most of these. No one has armor to play with or shields.
1 enemy remaining.
So it's just a massacre. It's what you want. They only lose the 1 player. That's fine. I think investing into 1, especially when it's someone like Kellogg's who's playing the Reyna, you can afford to get a rifle up on them, play that little bit more aggressive, and try to take down some of the more threatening weapons on an even playing field.
Especially, you could even take a bit of a risk and opt to have it potentially without armor, because of course we know that the ability to devour basically gives that in play anyway, even if it's just a minor assist. So there's definite potential, but it seems like they're just going to make sure that their next round buy is going to be as prominent as possible. But this is where we see a little bit of a difference maker. Now, this deep Sage wall is something incredibly common. Not only gives you information, but denies some of that space, and in a lot of cases will actually grant the ult orb over to the defense. Now, they're actually looking to fight this, almost give Kellogg's an angle to try and get something done, because of course if he gets a pick, he can dismiss straight now.
Yeah, he's falling back now though, realizing that he doesn't want to be stuck here while his teammates rotate off a little bit and play that bit more passive. But the timing could not be worse for G2. The second that they pull back from the A site, Guild walk forward. They are now overrunning the site and gaining control, leaving G2 to only now realize as the flash goes out that they've rotated to the wrong site. An early flank from Kellogg's though. With this pistol, he takes a big risk, and that could catch them completely off guard. In fact, Draken had absolutely no idea. Oh, Kellogg's, he stunned the nade, and it's such good utility counter though. The fight on this site goes quickly in Guild's favor. The better weapons reigning supreme, but Nuke gets another nade online with that. Leo is 20 HP back site, and he's going to be left in a 1v1 without any sight and 4 HP. It does go to G2. They just about pull themselves back into that round.
Yeah, Mix were even giving out a little like golf clap at the end as well. Like, very impressed with the team, it seems, and rightly so. That's a huge round. That's the bonus. They had a pistol on one player, SMGs on the rest. They now get a free rifle and have done a huge amount of damage to Guild's economy. So for G2, this is a massive start, especially when you consider what this round actually was. That was just them basically giving up the site and playing retake with much, much weaker weaponry as they attempted to get back into the site, and they managed to win the round. Nothing more can be expected of G2 in this scenario. And for Guild, they're going to want to try and break back fast, because realistically now you're starting to give that boost of economy. The confidence as well will be booming for G2, and as said, like, them winning the last map, that was a massive victory for them. But if they then go and lose the second one, a map that G2 haven't played with this roster, then all of that early bonus is just completely out the window.
I mean, that makes it almost more difficult, though, because they haven't played it with this roster. It's not going to be easy to read into what they do. One thing that we can compliment Guild on from the previous map was it seemed like they knew what G2 were doing. They'd obviously looked at the demos, they understood their opponents, and this time around, that's not possible. You're going in blind and playing what Bone Cold talked to us, I think, just yesterday about, like, playing their own game, focusing on themselves. But that's not always the best way to go about it. It's always nice to have a little bit of an idea what your opponents are doing. Kellogg's, he's good for the one, and he'll get out of there with the dismiss. Oh, he's going to stick around, stay aggressive. Very nicely done.
I'm liking it so far. They've let him off the leash, put the youngster on that aggressive role, taking ground away from Guild, not allowing those surprise executions, because they've got so much map control that it's very easy almost for G2 to actually make reads in these early round scenarios. Now, going into the buy once again, this is where, for Guild, as said, they're going to want to try and get on the board as quickly as possible, because not only is it going to get more troublesome as it goes on, like, there's always the pressure, especially on the attack side of Split, where I think it's quite easy to get bogged down. The other thing as well is you then start giving opportunities for G2 to bring in things like operators, and we know that they have multiple players. In fact, I think, Kellogg's definitely can. Nuki used to be an AWP player, if you go AWP player, if you go back to Counter-Strike, and I don't even think I need to get started on Mixwell.
Yeah, I think most people will have seen him in one or the other. When it comes to G2, though, right now, what's impressing me is how little space they're giving to Guild to make the typical Guild split plays. This time they have given up middle, but Nuki is ready for it. Prime, the nade goes down. That's going to catch good damage onto Bonker, considering he was so low especially. And now the heal can even come in to get him right back up. You see Nuki getting his health all the way up to 190 to 90. There we go.
This time that they actually punish, and I'm not sure I like that peak from Kellogg's. Like, in the early stages of the previous round, that was the opener. That was him taking a risk for the team. Now they already had the advantage, and they've given that back over to Guild. Something that I don't think was particularly necessary. And now you look at the positioning of the remaining defenders, there's not really anybody in place to support onto Mixwell. He's going to be the man that needs to delay, and there's so much utility trying to force him out of this corner. Even going to get stunned up, he's screwed. Perfect clearance from Guild to push him out of position, make that duel impossible, and now the remaining 3 players have a really tough retake on B.
This is where those protocols and that server time really starts to pay off, man. That kind of thing, they have run that again and again and again. Practice their utility placement, practice their nade distance, seen where the gaps were so they can put the aftershock down. That is preparation, man. It pays off. But Bunker being sneaky down below, goes out wide for another to peek with his teammate. Avova traded on right away, and that was perfectly played by Guild. I love seeing those kind of rounds, Tom, where you just know from a certain point, it wasn't like at the start of the round, you can like rush aside and you can have an execute, of course, but you can't control what happens. When you have that mid round, though, with the information, that's where you make those informed decisions, and you could see that everything that they did had already been rehearsed, even down to having Bonker in this position because they double peek from backside and then swing on the person that took him down. Beautiful stuff.
Kellogg's again. Trying to play maybe a little bit more passive in this round. He's going to look to try and meet up with Nuki as they seem to be setting up for more of a retake in this B defense. Now, there's going to be an early smoke, but with the wall already up, I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a push through it, but a little bit more wary and potentially going to allow Yassine to try and take a bit of a play here. Kellogg's already reclaiming some of that ground as he now has Avova alongside him, and actually they're going to make a play off of this. The timing could be everything but Yassine. He's always watching that flank, and although Avova is going to get them the information that there's now nobody here, it's still the first man going down for G2.
Yassine watching the back, but he's not able to get the kill. That must have been a wallbang headshot with the Phantom. Unfortunate, leaving a vote. Oh, here's the pop out of Nukia. He's going to chase them down, and that's a kill to Leo. With Leo out of the equation as well, that's big because he was just about to get his ultimate online. So no res to play with here. Rolling Thunder out in mid, though, is going to try to trade Nukia back. He dodges the flash, but he's still stunned on the peak. Draken has a perfectly timed flank as well, and this is starting to fall apart for G2 until Mixwell comes to the rescue. They know exactly where this last player is, and he has got next to no time. They dodge the paranoia, they put down the slows, and that is it. The round is done. Now they can hunt him down with a paranoia of their own. Beautiful stuff from Mixwell in that round, showing up right when G2 needed him.
Yeah, there were a couple of really big plays coming out from G2. The re-aggression from Avova definitely had its risks about it, but bringing things back early. Then you have the showstopper, as you mentioned, which got rid of Leo. And then even still, it was looking like a pretty decent round for Guild with their ability to trade using the ultimate solely just to get rid of Nuki. And then Mixwell just absolutely dominated them in the ropes, using the slows perfectly to make sure that they couldn't escape. And now they've got themselves 5 rounds, and once again, I was going to say it's not a buy, but there's a few hero weapons here in Kellogg's once more. I feel like they've almost just said to him, like, just be aggressive. Just make things awkward. Disrupt everything that Guild want to do. If you die, it doesn't matter.
Get that damage onto Draken. He is hurting quite a bit, and the wall placed so they have an angle around the side. Such a sneaky little play, but that's exactly what you expect coming out of G2. Oh, Mixwell, he's just baiting them in, and there it is. Nukia's wallbang gets the first. Down with Draken. And these players, they're not getting very much done with the pistols in hand. The main thing for G2 here is to survive with as many players as possible, and it looks like they're going to get away with this one without a single loss.
God, this is looking really impressive from G2. Now, it is worth mentioning, if you go back to the old G2 roster, the old Heretics roster as well, this was a map that was incredibly good for them. So, maybe not for Coldamenta. I know that for Ascend, it was their permaban for a very, very long time. But there are a lot of players within this team that are more than happy to actually play this map. It's just as a whole, it's not something that they've brought in just yet. So it's looking comfortable. Kellogg's as well, as said, like he's been hit and miss, but I think that's the plan. Like, it is just, okay, your job is to make sure that if they're trying to set up for some sort of execute, either you're going to find it out very early or you're going to put a bullet in their head. And again, how many opening kills now is this for Kellogg's? He really is taking that Niso role.
Oh, God. Yassine's full blind. He still makes his way onto the site.
He got
and Avova's asking how the hell it's him that dies. Nuki ends up picking up a triple, closing that one out, but Can you imagine, Tom? You've got two teammates up in heaven, and a showstopper comes out of heaven and kills you on the site. That's got to be frustrating. But then you take a glance at the scoreboard and see you're 7-1 up, so you'll let that one slide.
Nuke is just like, no worry, I win the round. And I was like, yeah, we won the round. The round didn't.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You get 3 kills. Was that nice? You enjoying yourself?
Bob was there, bottom of the scoreboard, like I would have liked some kills there. That would have been pretty nice.
This has been the weirdest series so far, because in
For
both
sure.
cases it's been incredibly dominant. In the wrong way. Like, it should be the other way around. Both teams going onto a map that they're very happy to play. This has been one of Guild's strongest map for an incredibly long time. I still remember when FPX were on, like, a ridiculous streak, and we were just looking at them on Split and going, like, I don't know if anybody can beat them. And then Guild beat them, and we were just like, oh, okay, cool. You kind of did that in style as well. Right now, they're just being obliterated. And I think it's literally, at the moment, G2 playing them at their own game. As said, one of the things Guild did excellently on the last map was they would just not give any space over to G2. They would find openers in ways that were frustrating, that were irritating. And Kellogg's is doing exactly the same thing. And it's not like he's just pushing out on his own. He has a couple of times, but there seems to be support in the form of maybe a Vova to make sure that, at minimum, they're coming out with a trade in every single one of these scenarios.
Camera taken out.
Yeah, that's insanely valuable to end up, at least if you're not putting yourself ahead, you're putting yourself, or if you're not putting yourself behind, you're evening the playing field. That's that's not a nice fight. Oh god, Mixwell taken down by a sheriff. They can take over mid control potentially here and get that weapon. They have lots of utility to work with. This round could spiral out of control pretty quickly, especially if Kellogg's goes down.
It doesn't stop him, though. He's going to spawn. He's going for the whole round the world strat. Coming up behind them. Now, he would hear if there was anybody maneuvering themselves through the sewers, but again, it's looking like an all-in B take. This has been one of the only successes that has been there for Guild thus far, but even then, they had much more of a split through mid, an opener alongside them, and instead, this time, they're doing it with pistols. Avova's already here. The paranoia leaves him completely blind, though, but this flank is still coming.
They've dealt with Coldamenta. The problem now is that there's just so much firepower to work with. Kellogg's just creeping onto the site, getting himself a frag, but it's Nukia's mid-controlled there. They realize, obviously, the communication from Kellogg's that he was leaving the guy in sewers. You see, our Nukia came down middle and just stared at it, knowing this guy is still in sewers. He will come because it's a fast B hit. He doesn't have time to wrap around A and come through spawn. He has to come back out. Nukia gets that kill, goes up to heaven,
He's
doubles up to finish it.
3.
Like, that is actually ridiculous. Versus Guild, especially with the form they're on and on a map that as a team G2 haven't played together yet. 17-3, that's unreasonable.
Hey, there was a reason that people didn't want to play that old Heretics roster on this map.
Yep.
He was definitely one of them. And right now, I honestly, I'll be surprised if we don't come into the EMEA stage and they're not still playing Split. Because this has almost looked too easy for them. Even just on an individual level, both him and Kellogg's have just been dominating the majority of duels that go their way. And he has locked down heaven in most cases. In fact, this time, they've even made a change. I think realizing that, what are the chances that they're going to try and face Nuki again? Like, realistically, Mitch, are they going to go anywhere near that man this time? Probably not.
Well, there are a lot of players outside the A site, and that's exactly where Nuki is holding. So, whether by fault or intention, it looks like they will be going towards Nuki, but they've spotted... Boom Bunny! Boom Bunny, run! Run! Nuki's coming. He's got the showstopper as well.
Rotated. Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, I think the fallback there is also because the Boombot spotted them, and if they make noise or if they stay coagulated like that, that showstopper can be popped and he can be on you in 2 seconds from heaven with those blast packs. So it makes sense that they kind of spread out a little bit, and now they're moving away from that showstopper because there's no powerful ultimate over on this side of the map. satchels going in, the control being pressured. They now start to go back. The big fake is sold, but Evolva's still here. They've spotted him. They know that he's here, but he's going to use the sound to get across. Unfortunately, not everyone was blinded up. The spike needs to make it to the site. There's only 10 seconds left, and they're maintaining heaven control. G2, they've completely cut this push off. The spike is down in heaven. This is unwinnable unless they kill Coldamenta, and he's tucked back in spawn. The contingency plan that ultimately gets them around on the board and puts it 9-1. Even in a round where Guild play the mind games, they play the map control perfectly, they lose to a logistic error.
Yeah, you see at the end, Leo just waiting on the site for the spike to finally make its way through. This paranoia definitely, I think, maybe clipped like the first person who went through, but it didn't do anywhere near enough. It was actually Mixwell. He was the difference maker, dropping the spike, not expecting his rotation to be there so soon, and just realizing all I have to do is damage here. If I drop any more players, we win the round. Coldamenta just sat there looking pretty with his beautiful hat on, smiling away. He doesn't have it today. I'm a little bit sad.
A 9-1.
Missed the bucket hat.
Well, I'm sure he'll bring it back for you if you ask nicely. This is a dangerous hold by Kellogg's, but the confidence is definitely there. Having that dismiss to get out of any sort of sticky situation if he hits the shot, which so far he has been hitting. So valuable. And look at this, the bait on sight. This gives Kellogg's the perfect angle. He goes out for even more and connects. The wall is up and it's going to be broken immediately. The res coming into play. Not much they can really do to stop that, but they'll still walk out with a man advantage.
I think they've realized it's really important to give him space here. That's why they've slowed down. We're going to see the ultimate pop, but they've left him in position to try and catch out rotations. Coldamenta actually still manages to get one, at least making things a little bit more complicated. Now, is Nuki seems to be the guy that checks absolutely everything. He might not even need to. Swinging back around, he's actually caught with a boom bot, but Mixwell is there to save him. Even has a res of his own. They can bring another player back if they can find the body to do so, although they're a little bit further towards the back of the site. Bonker, at least, with that operator in hand, trying to hold things down. He's got Leo on the cross, who will turn it into a 2v2 scenario. The operator actually not going to connect, and now it is all onto Leo, but he's connected another shot into the 1v1 versus Mixo. As said, that res is still available, but he's looking to just play this one on his own. The shot's not quite connected by either player, and Mixwell will get it through in the end. The clutch for the Spaniard, giving them a 10th.
A devastating scoreline for Guild. We talked about the previous map being so favored for G2 on paper, a strong map that they got ultimately dominated on for the majority of the game. Coming onto this, it seemed like Guild had already made it past the biggest obstacle, I would say, that was really in their way, and they have stumbled on the landing. My God, this is a dominant showing from G2 coming into the final round. It's not even worth saying they need 2 rounds, Tom. Look at that blast pack play by Yassine. This is what he's so dangerous for, but what? Doesn't look like anything's gonna
got
work.
Everyone. 100%. That paranoia got absolutely everyone. You can see almost cowering, and Kellogg's is going to peek this. Of course he's going to peek it, but Draken, he'll find a trade, Mitch. You know what? 3v3, this might be one of the best scenarios that Guild have actually had.
Considering how it started as well, this round was already over in my head, but Draken manages to grab even more.
All right.
Oh my. Coldamenta trying to sneak his way onto the site. He will make it there, but they will be suspicious. And as he swings into 2 players, heavy traffic takes him down. That's Guild with 2 at the halftime. They need the pistol. Lose the pistol, lose the game.
Switching sides.
Yeah, lose the pistol, run out of rounds. Like it really is an incredibly bleak scenario. As said, like normally you put this map as fairly favored to the defensive side, and we've actually seen recently quite some heavy defensive sides from quite a lot of teams. At the same time, unless G2 really do begin to struggle and get off to an incredibly slow start in the second half, I just have to feel that someone's going to be able to clutch them around. Even in the last map where things were going awfully, we still got like 3 rounds just based on like an Evolva clutch, a Nuki clutch. Like they have the players that will at least get them the little bit that they need to get through it. And the fact is, confidence has got to be through the roof right now because you've just won 10 rounds on the defense of your opponent's map choice that you don't play.
Yeah, but again, I think that's somewhere that you can fall into the pitfall, right? Like you said earlier, okay, they haven't played it with this roster, but 4 to 5 of these guys have been very strong on Split in the past, and looking at it statistically, maybe that's where Guild thought that this could be an area they catch G2 off guard in, and instead, they've walked right into what is clearly a comfortable map for this roster, whether it's the first official or not. They're performing. That was a really nice attempt by Yassine. Obviously, just not realizing there were 17 players waiting for him.
He had the timing of a god in the last map, and it seems to have flown out the window. As said, hit and miss, 50-50, but... well, for now, at least, it's going very well, but safe. Gonna keep himself, well, protected. Let's use the word protected and not use his namesake. Leo already going to pick off another, and it's left on 2 of over, down to just 22 HP. Chances of victory slim to none, and Guild will have their third. Their lifeline, Mitch.
Yeah. It's just, we're back to the socks at Christmas again, aren't we? It's, I don't want to have too much faith in this comeback.
There's a great chance, and it's something that everybody thoroughly enjoys.
Definitely, Tom. Definitely. It's not just you.
I have had far worse gifts than socks.
Go on.
Someone got me a Big Bang Theory t-shirt. That was an awful gift. Never worn that. I'm probably going to get Big Bang Theory's amazing show. They say Bazinga every episode.
I know exactly what I'm getting you for Christmas. Well, safe. Save's shutting him down, but he's under heavy pressure here. They want to drop that weapon so badly, and they will in the end, but 4 kills for Safe. Hey, he's happy enough with that.
It's the Bulldog era.
You're gonna be happy to give those kills to Safe, though. If there's anyone you want to build up their ultimate on Guild, if you have to choose one player, it's gonna be the Cypher. Maybe it's gonna be Draken, but you definitely don't want like Yassine. It's God damn it. God damn it, Tom.
I just want to see how many times you can reference that analogy.
Oh man, you go in there and you get nothing. It's you might as well have gotten socks out of it. You know what I mean? It's terrible eco.
This is where things in theory should get a little bit tougher. Pistol only for Bonker, but they do have a couple of rifles invested into this round. Draken has been tagged incredibly heavy. Leo should be able to bring him back from the depths. But actually, I've just realized how deep Leo is into A. Incredibly far away, and going to have to try and make sure he retreats, especially now that they've given up so much control to G2. Heaven firmly in their favor. Safe, again, has to go big at the Bulldog. Oh, it's a little bit rough to begin with, but 2 headshots off the back. The sight may have been lost, and the heals have come through, but still an advantage for Guild.
Oh,
and,
stop.
well, Safe is just showing that this Bulldog, it's meta now, Mitch. It's meta.
Absolutely, in his hands it is. He can spray that very accurately. Res comes through, but Safe shuts it down. And although he'll eventually fall, things are definitely still doable. All thanks to him. It's Yassine that had to clutch it out, and he couldn't get it done. Nukia picking up that round for G2, putting them on 11-4. What a huge lead. And Tom, that's exactly why socks at Christmas was the analogy, because you know, you don't want to get your hopes up, because sometimes what you get isn't that great. Although I will agree with you on one thing. You know, if you ended up getting those socks, right, or you didn't get the socks and you hadn't bought any, what are you gonna do? You know, you'll be walking outside in the cold. You'll be like, me feet. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Zesh knows what I mean. He's jumped in on that one. Thanks for coming in clutch, Zesh.
For God's sake.
He'll take the rest of the day off now.
Yeah, he is a boot camp after all. 11-4. G2 just a couple of rounds away. Now, this is the full investment now for Guild. Rifles across the board on every single player. Ultimates, as you mentioned, not really built up, though. In fact, it seems to be almost even on that front. Leo boosted over the top, but it's actually Yassine to drop the first player. And after finding that kill, they're not really going to reface. They're not going to take too many risks. But I think the player still to watch has to be Kellogg's. We've seen how aggressive he's been so far, lurking outside B. And I thought he was going to make some sort of risky play again, but it seems like he's going to end up as the lurker in mid. Of course, as Reyna, fairly self-sufficient.
Everything was looking to be the B-side hit, but now we need a huge hold from Safe. Yassine's managed to pick up that mid lurk, though. Now Safe can just play that much more passive. He'll pull back over towards Heaven and wait for the retake. Especially when you look at G2, they don't really have anything other than like an aggressive play to try to bridge that gap that now exists between them. There's 2 extra players for Guild. All they have to do is trade, but no one is coming through spawn. This can't be another huge flank by Mixwell. Surely he's going to be checked at the last hour, leaving Nukia all alone to 1v5. A capable man that he is, but that is just too big of a task to ask.
I think there was a small millisecond there where I was thinking somehow Mixo's going to get something done, but it does seem like Draken as well just had that internal clock of, okay, let's just make sure we're not being flanked on here. And Guild, yeah, big round. You've seen again, into mid, managing to find a couple of impactful kills. It has definitely been a quieter game from some of the players. I know that Safe, a lot of the kills we've seen from him have actually just been in the early stages of this second half, so definitely prominent in terms of bringing this one back. Again, though, as said, it's similar to what we saw in the last map. Like, even if rounds start being like almost ground out by Guild, I still just expect G2 to get those last couple of rounds, like eventually cheese their way through, even if it is just with some impressive ultimate takes, even if I don't think the ultimates are quite as impactful as what we saw on the last map at least.
Oh, they're definitely not. Definitely not of the same caliber, but the showstopper certainly is. It's coming in hot and not finding a damn thing. Nukia missing out on that one, just damage onto Bonker, but he is still tucked in towards the elbow. Nukia manages to pick up Yassine. Right through Heaven he goes, frenzy in hand. And Bonker, they haven't seen him. He's managed to sneak all the way around the smoke, the only thing stopping him from being able to actually take a peek onto these players. Avova manages to take down Safe, but here it is, the stealthy play by Bonker, and it nets him a double. That pretty much closes out the round and puts Guild up on 6. Really nice stuff by Bonker to avoid a heads-up conflict with those pistols, because when they have those many numbers just running at you, yes, you have the better weapon, but you're not going to get on top.
Someone defuse. They just all went on a little adventure together. But you know what? It's going to be that 6th round. That's also going to give over the ultimate as well to Leo. So the res is going to be available in this one if they do end up in some sort of retake scenario. Now, an extra plant for G2 isn't awful. I'm sure they would have wanted a little bit more. And by the looks of it here, they're actually going to take a bit of time for this next round. I think especially on the attack, just slowing things down a little bit. Don't allow Guild to continue to build up that momentum, because as we sort of mentioned in the last map, like Guild winning that was huge. If G2 can do it, I feel like it almost resets the series. And then you kind of look at the like middle ground maps that we have coming up. That's where things sort of get a little bit more interesting for me, Mitch, because I think that a lot of, like, the first 2 maps were meant to be the ones that weren't very competitive, and although I don't think they have been, they definitely haven't been in the manner we necessarily expect. But coming up next would actually be Haven, which is a map that I really do think is going to be 50-50. I think that both teams have had impressive victories over top teams. They both had some sort of awkward battles. I know G2 having some fairly close games versus Fnatic, but obviously, like, you're beating the 2nd best team in the world. That's pretty good. So I feel like they're going to be confident going into the next map especially. So, and then after that we have Icebox, which again, both teams have looked fairly comfortable on. So I think that if G2 take this, as said, the whole series is back on just completely level playing field, and it really could go either way.
Well, yeah, it just becomes a best of 3 at that point, right?
There.
And considering it would just be so backwards, man, seeing both teams pick the map that at least on paper significantly favors the other, but that's it. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and evidently G2 have been putting in the hours on the prac. Oh, Yassine again, man! Again! Every time he pops the showstopper, he instantly dies. That is ridiculous.
Well, this round has gone from bad to worse. It started as poorly as can be, but every single individual battle has gone in the wrong direction. Leo is doing his very best to save them. He does have the res, but there's not really anybody he can get to. Now, he actually dinks up Mixer. A little bit unlucky not to get his 3rd kill of the round, but now it's left all onto Safe. Now, he's had a real resurgence as the Bulldog has brought him back. Going to be using the Phantom this time. And he's got to be wary of the lurk coming through as well on the other side.
Really, really tough one for safe. I mean, as he's swinging out on this, there's the first. Even if he kills Kellogg's, that flank comes through, closes it out easily. It's 12-6, and yeah, the faith, for me at least, the faith in Guild was wavering before, but once you see G2 hit that mark, and knowing how efficient they've been in a lot of these rounds where they commit their ultis, just looking back to the previous map, and they've got some powerful ones to work with here that will be up by the time Guild would make it to overtime. I can't see it. I can't see it going their way.
Well, no showstopper online this time for Yassine, so there's probably a little bit more of a chance for him in this round. He genuinely is like 1-5 or 1-6 in this scenario. Kellogg's again, the perfect dismissed, and he's already going to open up both players in mid. He really is looking like an absolute star on this Reyna, and that W key is pressed all the way down. Draken doing his best to save them here, but a one and done, and 2 players left to try and win this in the clutch.
Well, the Rolling Thunder is going to be put out, but I don't know how much it's going to yield. A flash around the corner, and Kellogg's is catching Bonker with utility in hand, but the kill still goes Safe's way. He's conscious of a player coming through mid. Seems to have the perfect read on this one, but now the spike's being planted in a 1v3, and Bonker's chances have just dropped significantly. All the way down to 0 they go. 13-6. What a recovery from G2, bringing a dominant performance to Guild's map pick to match that their opponents brought in the previous time.